Okay, so instead of Kindness 101, this week we are doing a special Patriotism 101.
Our dad's doing a special assignment.
Yeah, he's doing a special assignment, so the kids are going to take over.
Yeah. What is patriotism? Patriotism is basically pride in your country.
Pride in your country, exactly. Today, me and Marielle are going to show you 4 stories about people who had very excellent pride in their country. The first one is one of our dad's favorite stories, and it comes from, do you know, Marielle?
Washington State.
Washington State, exactly. Let's take a look.
Right when the sun calls it a day and starts setting on the Puget Sound, residents of this neighborhood in Tacoma, Washington say they start hearing music. Same time, same 24 notes. A lot of people say it's the most poignant melody they've ever heard.
When you hear the first note, everything in our house comes to a complete halt.
People stop and go out.
And I kind of let it wash over me.
Although the notes have been played before, from military funerals to Boy Scout campfires, rarely do you hear taps here. Coming from a back porch in a suburban neighborhood.
I'm in another zone when I'm playing. I'm not aware of anything but the fact that I'm playing this, and I'm trying to play it as best as I can. Do a good job.
Don Britton has been playing trumpet since he was a kid and was even in a band for a while.
Okay.
But he's never taken it as seriously as he does now. Every morning, this 78-year-old retired aerospace worker checks the paper to see when sunset is. And every afternoon, he practices for his nightly performance. He's been doing this for the past 2 years, partly to show his appreciation for our military.
Support our guys that are over there fighting.
Did you serve in the war?
No, I had polio when I was a kid, so I couldn't serve.
For him, that was one of the worst things about polio.
Oh, I would have served in a heartbeat, you bet.
Yet his ritual is only partly for the soldiers. It's also for his neighbors, who now take it just as seriously as he does. As soon as they hear Don start, they come out and stand at attention.
Seems to move people. It has an effect on them.
It's just very emotional for me.
It's beautiful.
We appreciate it.
In our everyday hectic lives, there's almost nothing that gets people to stop like this, to honor or just reflect. But here in Tacoma, they spend 24 notes nightly doing exactly that.
Well, that man sure did have a lot of patriotism.
Yeah.
What did you like about it?
Well, I like just the fact that he served the people who were in war to defend their country.
Yeah, and that's what Memorial Day is all about. And that song, Taps, that's our dad's mission. He's trying to get people all over the country to play that song today at 3 p.m. And if you want to learn more about that, you can go to
cbsnews.com/taps.
Okay, so this next story that we have for you is about some very patriotic kids. And they just got really interested in ships.
It all began here in Raleigh, North Carolina,
A1.
with a flurry of plastic bombshells.
You sunk our battleship!
A few years ago, 10-year-old twins Carter and Jack Hansen got really into the game Battleship. That got them interested in naval warfare in general, which eventually led to a family vacation to see the Yorktown, a retired aircraft carrier in Charleston, South Carolina.
My mind was just blown, like blue.
The kids say the Yorktown changed their lives.
I just realized how amazing history could be.
And it was about to get even better. On that same trip, the boys learned about a World War II vet named Robert Harding, who actually served on the Yorktown. They got his email address, started corresponding daily, and became really enamored, to the point where they now desperately want to meet him.
We want to know what his voice actually sounds like. We want to touch him. We want to know him a lot more.
That's how fond they have become of a veteran they have never met. The boys keep his picture by their beds, And if you ever go to the Yorktown with them, as we did, they'll chew your ear off about Mr. Harding and what he did on board as a plane handler.
And when the plane's ready to launch, he would like go unstrap this, and the plane would like go flying that direction.
The folks who run the Yorktown say a lot of kids love the ship, but no kid has ever fallen for a sailor who served here like these two boys have fallen for Mr. Harding. Which is why, for this trip, the Yorktown made special arrangements
Okay.
for a surprise visitor.
Mr. Harding?
That's right.
Hugging an old salt never felt so sweet.
Oh, you're a good boy.
It was hard to tell who enjoyed it more or who needed it more.
Japanese plane.
Over the years, Mr. Harding says he'd kept most of his war stories to himself.
You know, where they were firing, I guess I need somebody to talk to about it. It's surprising the way it worked out. Number 2 elevator would have been right about here.
The kids, all 3 of them, spent the rest of the day exploring the ship and making memories. They now plan to stay in touch for as long as fate allows.
There we go.
Whoever said history is irrelevant, obviously, never fell in love with it.
We don't know about how we've changed his lives, but we know that he obviously changed ours.
So, what I liked about those boys is they wanted to meet a veteran that helped fight in the war.
Yeah, fight for their country. Our next story is about another very patriotic kid, except I believe this one is a bit older, and he didn't want to meet one veteran.
He wanted to meet thousands.
Thousands.
For as long as he can remember, 19-year-old Rishi Sharma has been fascinated with World War II. But it wasn't until recently that he realized this history is still living.
There are real superhero World War II vets out there, and I want to meet them.
So in 2014, as a junior in high school, Rishi made it his mission.
I ditched so many days of high school to go do an interview.
You were skipping school to go interview vets?
Yeah, I started riding my bike to the local senior home. I interviewed those guys. Then I started driving.
Today, he tries to meet one a day.
Every single day.
Drives all over Southern California searching out every World War II combat vet he can find.
I had a lot of missions.
Like Marine Tank Commander Ernie Isley.
They were going to make a big camp there, attack us at night.
Rishi talks to these guys for hours.
Wow.
Then gives the recordings to the families.
Thank you so much.
So far, he has interviewed more than 210 combat vets. A remarkable total, but a monumental failure as far as he's concerned. Rishi says we're losing about 400 World War II vets a day. He can't talk to them fast enough.
It's amazing how much history and knowledge is encased in each one of these individuals, and how much is lost when one of them dies without sharing their story. The fact is, I wake up every day to obituaries, guys who I wanted to interview, and I have to find out that, they died.
At this point, I should tell you, Rishi doesn't come from a military family. His parents immigrated here from India. And yet, he cares more about our greatest generation than any teenager I have ever met.
My name is Rishi Sharma.
In addition to his daily interview, he calls at least 5 World War II vets a day, just to thank them for their service and sacrifice.
It means a great deal to me that you were willing to endure all of that so that I could be here today.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanking veterans and preserving their legacies is so important to Rishi. He's now delaying college, starting a GoFundMe, and expanding his mission across the country.
This is a map of all the places that I'm planning to go to.
This is a multi-year trip, right?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna be on the road for years. Yeah, well I thank you so much for your time.
Nice to know. As long as there are World War II veterans willing to talk, there will be at least one young man willing to listen.
You mean a lot to me.
I liked that he wanted to meet thousands of veterans and had the patience to listen to all of them.
I think that's really cool too, and Rishi even put it ahead of his own education, which I think is really interesting, and I just like thinking about it. Okay, our next and final story for today is about a World War II veteran, and he did something that was truly remarkable.
At the age of 93, this is what you call an accomplishment. Just making it down all 4 steps of the RV is quite a feat. But don't be too impressed yet, because at 93, what's even more remarkable is waking up at 5 a.m. for a nearly 5-mile run. But again, don't be too impressed yet, because at 93, what's most amazing of all is that this little jog in St. Simons Island, Georgia is just the final leg of a much, much longer run that began almost 3 years and 3,000 miles ago at the Pacific Ocean.
I'm running the whole thing, every step of the way.
Now you can be impressed. First time we met Ernie Andrus, he was just outside Phoenix, slowly inching his way through the Sonoran Desert. He would go 5 miles, get a ride or hitchhike back to his vehicle, then run the next 5 miles 2 days later. All for one purpose.
I want people to know what the war was all about and what it took to win it.
Specifically, this old Navy man was running to raise awareness for an unsung hero of World War II, a ship he served on called an LST, or Landing Ship Tank. It's how the Allies got heavy equipment onto beaches. There's one you can visit in Evansville, Indiana, and Ernie thinks people really should go.
This shouldn't be forgotten. Eisenhower and Churchill both made a similar remark that it's the ship that won the war.
Won the war?
Yeah. Without them, how could you taken all those islands? How could you even took Normandy?
Which is why, 70 years later, Ernie was out here returning the favor, all by himself.
And I just thought how sad if he had to be doing this journey by himself.
But that
I joined him.
Was about to change.
He ran in Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, and now Georgia.
Yeah, I've run 44 legs.
He had quite a following the second time we saw him in Waco, Texas. But that was nothing compared to what we found last weekend in St. Simons, where hundreds of people from across the country joined Ernie's army.
God bless you, sir. Thank you so much.
The American people are the most loving and generous people in the world.
3 years ago, most people thought there was no way a man in his 90s could make it across the country.
You got this, you got this.
But here he was, on the soft sand of the Atlantic. And as this old sailor stormed the beach one last time, to fervent chants and flying colors, he showed us all that the greatest generation is no less great today.
So, we have a little update for that story. He's going all the way back to California, where he started. And as of now, I think he's in Louisiana. So, he's gonna do it.
And again, our dad is out working on a special assignment. And if you want to know more about that, go to cbsnews.com/taps. And don't miss our next Kindness 101, which will be about compassion.
And I would like to close with a small song for all the people that served for the military in our family.
Well, thank you for that song, Emmett.